What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Kramer, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys the behind the scenes of one of the most important tools that I use for my real estate business. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so the tool that I'm going to be showing you today is called TurboTenant. And just wanted to show you proof here. I have been using them since 2022, which is the same year I bought my very first property solo. So TurboTenant has so many different features for landlords, whether you're doing midterm rentals or if you do long-term rentals. And you can see their feature list here has so many different incredible features that'll help you market your property, help you screen guests, put leases together, receive payments, and so much more. But in this video, I'm going to show you just the top 2 ways that I personally use TurboTenant for my properties and how you can as well. Okay, so I'm signed into my TurboTenant account. And you can see down here, I've done 24 leases with them. I've had 27 tenants come through. So I truly use this platform. Now, the 2 main ways that I mentioned that I use it is 1 for marketing and 2 for leases. So let me walk you through each of them and how they work. So the first tab that I want to show you is the properties tab. So what's cool about this tab is what you can do is build a listing and then blast it out to a bunch of different listing sites like Redfin, apartments.com, and a bunch of other places where tenants are looking for rentals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press on add new property, and I'm going to actually go through this to show you it's really, really fast. And I'm going to actually build out a listing from one of my newest properties. Okay, so the first thing you do is you put in the address, put in the bedroom and bathroom details, and then your target rent. So for me in this new property, my target rent is going to be $2,200. And my target deposit is going to be $500. Again, my strategy for this specific property is a midterm rental. So that's why I price it as such. And as I showed you before, once we're done with this listing, we're going to be able to blast it out to, like I said, my favorites are Redfin, apartments.com, and realtor.com, which is really, really cool. So let's go ahead and set up my listing. And again, it's just going to ask us more information about our property so that I can build us out a full listing. So my square footage is going to be 836 and it's a 1936 property. So for this property, I actually already have it rented out via Airbnb up until August 1st. So I'm going to say this is available starting August 2nd. My ideal lease term is going to be monthly. And then, as I mentioned before, my target rent is $2,200. But what's really cool is if you're doing a long-term rental, what you can do is you can press on a run report, which I'll just go ahead and do right now. And it essentially gathers rental information from nearby properties. It shows you what you can realistically rent it for. So you might think, well, Bailey, you're asking $2,200 and this is showing between $475 to $1,350. These are long-term rentals, whereas my property is a furnished midterm rental, which is why I'm able to get a lot more. But if I were to do a long-term rental, this is very accurate. Okay, so I'm going to press on next. Do you allow smoking? No. I do allow pets. I do allow small and large dogs. And do we have an occupancy limit? Yes, we do. We have a 4 guest max. That's basically 2 people per bedroom. Utilities paid by landlord. Again, this is going to depend on your strategy. Since I do midterm and short-term rentals, I pay for all the utilities. If you do a long-term rental, you can customize this to best fit your property. So I pay for electric, garbage, gas, internet, sewage, and water. I don't pay for satellite TV or cable. That is not needed. Okay, and then amenities. There's a spot here that says furnished. So this is very key if you're doing a furnished rental. If you have a fenced yard, that's another huge amenity. Okay, so you can fill out all your amenities there. Appliances, I have a dishwasher, a dryer, a freezer, a microwave, an oven, a washer, and a refrigerator. In some of my properties, I don't have dishwashers. So just something to note, if you don't have a dishwasher, not the biggest deal, but you got to know your market and know if that is going to be needed. For my flooring, I have all new vinyl flooring. So I'm going to put that there. There is air conditioning and it is central air. And we also have heating, and that is going to be forced air. If you don't know what type of air your property has, you can always check it, usually on Zillow, or these days just ask ChatGPT, put in your property address, and it could probably give you a really good idea because ChatGPT knows everything. Okay, so next we have a property title and property description. Again, I'm going to say this a million times. I already have this property listed on Airbnb. So what I could do is I can go to Airbnb and copy my title and copy my description and paste it in here. But if you don't have a listing already built out, what's really cool is you can press this little button over here and it'll instantly generate a title for your listing. So charming 2-bed, 1-bath home in my city, and then shows the price. So that's really cool. And what's also cool is the same thing applies for the property description. So if I click this little button down here, it'll instantly generate me a description for my property based on all the details that I've already mentioned so far. Of course, if you want to customize it, you totally can. All right, next we're gonna add photos. So I'm going to go to my desktop, grab all my photos and drop them in here. Just something to note, there is a 20 photo max. So make sure you pick your top 20 photos and go ahead and drop them right in. And what's also cool is if you have a video tour link or a Matterport link or any other type of link you want to input for here for a video tour, you can do so right down here. I don't yet have those for my properties, so I personally skip that section. Okay, so just like that, the pictures have been uploaded. And what's also cool is you can move them around, figure out which one to be first, second, third, just like Airbnb or any other site. You can put the order of the photos. If you're like, hey, why did this photo get in here? You can easily delete it. Or if for some reason you want to change the orientation of the photo, you can also rotate it using this button here. Once it's all set, what you can do is press on next, and voila, we are now ready to start marketing your rental. So if you want your listing that we just made to be blasted out to all these different sites, all you have to do is press on publish my listing, which I'm going to do right now. So I pressed on publish my listing, and now marketing is turned on. So just reading here, thanks for verifying. Remember, it can take up to 48 hours for your property to appear on other listing websites. Obviously, every site's a little different, so just give it up to 48 hours to do so. If you do showings, again, this is going to be more pertinent for long-term rental, but you can set up showings, which is really convenient. I don't do showings for my property as furnished rentals, so I'm going to press on skip for now. And here's the screen it takes us to. So again, it says marketing is turned on. It can take up to 48 hours. Now what? So when renters express interest, they will show up as a lead in TurboTenant, which you can see right here on the left-hand side. This is where the leads will pop up. Online leads receive a pre-screen, so it's easy to know if they met your basic criteria. So what these first two things mean is if someone sees your rental on Redfin or any of the sites it's going to blast out to, and they're interested in applying for the property or just learning more information, TurboTenant has a built-in form where it's going to collect information from the guest that you will then be able to see to make sure that the tenant is a good fit for you. Now, of course, you can still do an application if you want or anything on top of that, but TurboTenant is taking a lot of the legwork and weeding out people who really aren't serious. So then step 3 here is when you find a good fit, invite them to apply. The renter pays a fee to cover the screening report, which includes a credit, criminal, and eviction check. This is super standard, no matter what site you're using already for a background check of sorts, but a credit, criminal, and eviction check is super common, and it is also common to have the tenant pay for that. If you want to be a really nice landlord and you want to pay for it, you absolutely can, but you don't have to. You can put the expense towards the tenant. And then, of course, you're going to receive a full rental application with the screening report included, so you can actually see, once the tenant fills out the screening report, you'll be able to see all the information about them to determine if they are going to be a good fit for your property. And once they are a good fit, you're going to use the lease feature, which I will be going over very shortly. So I'm going to press on finish for now, and it's going to take us to this screen. So this is essentially the screen talking about our property. A couple important things I want to point out here before we move on to the leases tab. So you'll see your listing is marked as published. And of course, it's going to take a little bit of time to post to the other platforms. But what you can do is press on this share button, and you're going to see a link to the listing. So if you press on copy link, I'm going to open it up in a new tab here. You're going to be able to see everything that another prospective tenant is going to see. So the price, the pictures, the description of the property, all of that good stuff, they're going to be able to see here. And if they want to apply for your property, all they're going to do is press on apply now, which will then take them to a page like this. They're going to fill out their information that will then be submitted to you. And you'll be able to look in the leads tab to see that lead actually come through. Okay, so once you find a lead who has some pretty good information they're sharing about themselves in the beginning, and you want to invite them to apply to your property, all you have to do is go back to this marketing here, press on share, invite to apply. And what you're going to do is you're going to put in their information, and TurboTenant will either email or text it or both based on your preference to the tenant. They're going to already supply you their email in their application, in their inquiry form. So you'll already have that. And then the fee for this is $45 since I have the premium plan of TurboTenant, and you're going to simply invite them to apply. And what's really cool is TurboTenant has this little thing on the bottom where you can actually demo what it looks like to invite someone to apply. So you know exactly what your tenants are going to receive. All right, so once you have the application submitted and screen your tenant and they meet your criteria, what you're gonna now do is send them a lease. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna press on this button, leases, okay? You can also press the lease button here. It's the exact same thing. And you're gonna press on add your lease. So we're gonna first pick our property. You're gonna then give the lease a nickname. This is kind of like an internal name so that you know which one it is. So a lot of the times I like to put the tenant's name. So in this example scenario, I'll just put Bob Smith lease. And then you're just going to start inputting the information of the lease. You're going to already have a lot of this information, if not all of it, from your tenant line. So let's just say we're going to do August 5th to October 5th. And what happens when the lease ends? So a lot of the times for my travel nurse clients, let the lease terminate on the date above, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to terminate. If they're going to extend, we do that after the fact. But a lot of the times my insurance claim guests that I talk about here on my channel, they like to do a month to month automatically after the lease expires, just in case they need to extend. So you'll pick the option that is best for you and your tenant, and then go ahead and press on add lease. Now what we're going to do is we're going to press on get a lease agreement. So what's really cool about TurboTenant, and it says it right here in this box, but it will get you a lease agreement that is specific, because every state has a little bit different laws and rules about the leases. So this property is in Indiana. So it says our Indiana lease agreement was drafted by legal professionals to keep you compliant and covered. And that is really, really important with leases. So don't go get a lease from ChatGPT or just a generic template online, because every state has different requirements. So we're going to go ahead and press on start, and it's going to auto-populate the information we just gave it. We're going to press on save and next. We're going to tell it our base rent and when the rent is due. Again, this is going to pull from the property page that we already made. But if you want to adjust it for whatever reason, you totally can. If you have any late fees. So again, a little thing that's popping up is, hey, in Indiana, there's no state law on a mandatory grace period, but 5 days is common. So in some states, they make you give a 5-day grace period before charging any late fees. The TurboTenant is telling us, hey, there's no state law on grace periods, but it is common to do so. So that's just nice to know. And it is even telling us the suggested late fee, which is cool. So I will do daily late fees in the amount of $50 starting 5 days after rent is due. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and press on save, and it'll automatically apply that to our finished lease at the end. Will you charge pet rent? If you do, press yes. If you don't, press no. If you're going to be prorating rent, again, you can press yes or no. In this case, what's really cool again about TurboTenant is they have a prorated rent calculator. So just to read the description here, if your tenant is not moving in on the first of the month, you may want to charge a prorated amount. This covers their rent until the first full payment is due. So for example, if someone's moving in on the 10th of the month, there's only like 20 days remaining in the month. So you're only charged them for 20 days worth of rent, essentially. But what's cool about TurboTenant is they have a prorated rent tool where you can put in what the rent is. So in this case, $2,200. You put in the month that they're moving in, the day that they're moving in. And again, this is an example, but it'll then show you what the prorated rent is. So if they're moving in on the 5th of the month, they're going to owe you $1,900 instead of the $2,200 for that first month. And then same thing, if you have a prorated move out amount, you can put those details in here and it'll calculate the prorated amount for you. So in this case, we're just going to press no for simplicity. Deposits, we're required pet deposit. Again, you can put yes or no, and all this information will be added to the lease. Do you have any one-time fees? So for me, one-time fees are common. Cleaning fee, again, it depends on the property, but I'm just going to put in my cleaning fee. And I also have a pet fee. Again, this is going to depend on your property. And then how will you collect rent? So another feature that we're not going to dive too deep into in this video is TurboTenant's rent collection feature. But since we're here, let's talk about it. They do have a way to automatically collect the rent for you, so you don't have to chase down the tenant or send them your Venmo or Stripe links or any other way. TurboTenant has a built-in feature where they let the tenants pick how they want to pay. That's ACH, credit, or debit card, and the tenants will pay through the platform, and then you'll receive it on the back end. Again, we're not going to go too crazy into the features at this moment. This could be a whole nother separate video, but for now, we're just going to press rent payments by TurboTenant and press on save and next. Okay, so now people on the lease. We're going to go ahead and enter our tenant's name. The reason why we're going to do this is because once it's all said and done, TurboTenant is going to help us with getting a signature on the lease. So this is important information. I'm going to put our tenant's name as Bob Smith as an example scenario here. And then I'm going to press enter new tenant. So there they are. And I'm going to continue to scroll down. If there are going to be any additional occupants there, okay, we're going to press yes. In this case, we're going to keep it simple and press no. For our landlord information, for me, I always put my company name on here. So this is what would go there. Your email, your phone number, and your legal first and last name would go here. And then your landlord mailing address we'll go here. So I'll again put in an example address here. Of course, you're going to put in your actual address there. And then other scenarios that TurboTenant will ask you about. Will the tenant have a mailing address that differs from the rental property, such as a PO box? But no. Are there any co-signers? So again, for my properties, I don't do it, but if you're doing student rentals, that would be a great place for co-signers, or really any other type of rental where you require a co-signer, or any additional signers that are non-tenants. So you can pick that here. I don't do that personally, so I'm gonna press on save and next. Okay, pets, smoking, and other. So will there be on the lease? You can press yes or no. I'm gonna keep it simple, but no for now. Smoking, do you have any parking rules? Okay, if you put yes, it'll give you a space pre-written verbiage. If you want to change it, you totally can. Again, for now, I'm gonna press on no. And then renter's insurance. Do you require renter's insurance? This is totally up to you. In this case, it is recommended. I'm gonna press on yes. But of course, when you get to this screen, you can kind of look in what that actually means. They have so many different links that help guide you throughout this, which is another reason why I like it, because if you're like, should I have renter's insurance? I don't really know. Well, they have links here that you can open up talking all about the benefits of renter's insurance, so you can figure out what's best for you. So I'm going to press on yes and then save and next. Utilities, services, and keys. So who is responsible for the following? So as a furnished rental, I'm responsible for electricity, internet, not for phone because nobody pays for that. Same thing for cable and satellite, gas, water, sewer and septic, trash. Those are on me. Lawn care is on me. Snow removal. Of course, this is a place where it does snow. If you're in Florida, you can press on NA. And then HOA condo fee. Again, we don't have that. So, and then which keys will your tenants receive? So if you have property keys and mailbox openers or garage openers, you could put that here. For my properties, I'm going to keep it simple and just tell them I'm going to give them 2 sets of keys. Okay. And maintenance. So what you're going to put here for maintenance is whatever you want. But what's cool is TurboTenant has a built-in maintenance tracker, which again, we're not going to go too deep into this video besides what I'm telling you now, but where your tenants will essentially be able to submit maintenance requests through the TurboTenant portal. So if you'd rather have them email you or text you, you could also do that. But for now, I'm going to keep this TurboTenant maintenance request on and press on save and next. All right, next up, we have our provisions and attachments. So would you like to include any early termination clause? I'm gonna press on no for now. If you want to, you can press on yes, but I'm gonna keep it simple for the demo of this video. Additional terms, if there's anything additional you want to put on here, you absolutely can. And then lead-based paint disclosure. So was this property built prior to January 1st, 1978? So if it was, you can press yes. If it wasn't, you're gonna press no. Is this property located within a flood zone? If it was, you're gonna press yes. If not, you can press no. And then any other attachments that you want to add onto here, you totally can. And then press on save and next. So now what you can see is we've done all of these different parts of the lease because it says complete. So now what we can do is we can press on review and sign. So it's going to generate the full lease, which you can scroll through and look at the entire thing here. Okay, it's extremely thorough. I use this for every single time I have a lease. This is the exact process that I do. So you can read through it. It's going to, again, vary state to state and lease by lease. So make sure you take the time and read through it. And once you see, okay, this is looking good, you're going to see that there's a place for signatures at the bottom. So all you're going to do is press on finalize and e-sign. And it says your agreement is ready, time to get it e-signed. So set up signatures. Okay. We're going to put in a document title. So we're going to just call this Bob Smith example lease agreement and press on next. And it's going to automatically upload or input our tenant's name and then our information here. And then you can put a message here. So, hey, Bob, attached is the lease agreement. Please review and sign. Okay. And then we're going to press on set signatures. And what's really cool about this part is it's going to automatically make spots for our tenant's signature and our signature as well. So if you've ever used like a e-doc or an e-signing tool, you'll know that you usually have to like drag and drop all of these different fields, but this does it for you automatically. So it's smart to text the signing, the date, it already inputs their name, which makes it really, really easy. And of course, if you have any additional documents that you need to manually add things to, you can, but 9 times out of 10, I don't have to do that for my properties because I just use what TurboTenant gives me. And then I press send for signature. And it gives you a really easy step-by-step of what's going to happen next. So it's a signature requested. Bob will receive an email from TurboTenant prompting them to sign the document electronically. We will walk them through the process so it's simple and straightforward, even if they are on their mobile phones, which I can attest to is super easy for the tenants. I've never had a tenant to date have troubles with e-signing it or viewing it, it's always really seamless. At any time, you can check who hasn't signed the document yet, which I'll show you that part in a second. And then once everyone has signed, they're going to email it to me so that I can sign. So you always sign last as a landlord. And then once all signatures are complete, we'll send a signed copy to all parties. So I'm going to press on sound good, and I'm going to scroll down. So as you can see here, it says it has been sent, but neither has been viewed. So my tenant received it, but they haven't viewed it yet. Now, since I'm acting as the tenant here as well, just for demo purposes, I actually went into my email, which I'll show you here. I got an email with the subject signature request by, okay? And it is prompting me to view and sign the lease, which I opened up here. All I have to do is press on sign the document. I can go ahead, I can read the entire thing. I can scroll down to the bottom and I can click here to sign. Now, before I do that, I'm going to just refresh this page just to show you it's showing me as the landlord that our fake tenant in this scenario has viewed the agreement. Okay, so that's good to know because you're like, did they open it yet? I don't know. It shows you that here. So then once I go ahead and sign it as if I were the tenant. So now once I go ahead and sign it and press on continue and I agree, it says we'll email you a copy of the signed document once the e-signature process is complete. And then the tenant will essentially be able to go set a password so they have their portal, which I'll save that part for another video. If I go back to TurboTenant and I refresh the page, you're going to see that it has been signed. So super easy, super simple. And now all I need to do as the landlord is sign my version of it. And then once I do that, it'll say signed here and the signed lease will actually populate here as well so that we can view it if we need to at any time. So there we have it. That is the overview of TurboTenant and really the main features that I use in TurboTenant. There are so many other features that I didn't even have the time or chance to go over. So if you're at all interested in using any of the features that I went over or exploring all the features that I didn't go over, you can sign up for TurboTenant using the link below. You'll be able to check out the different pricing they have, which I'm not going to lie, is very, very reasonable considering all of the capabilities it has and how much it has helped me business. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have questions, drop them below. Go sign up for TurboTenant and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.